Here's the problem. The very first time I sat down with her and we discussed having the hysterectomy, I had this feeling that I don't know how to explain it, that I shouldn't do it. And I remember thinking at the time, why do I feel like I shouldn't do this? So I made an appointment and with the same practice at the Leahy Hospital, and I saw the doctor, and I was trying to get in with the same doctor I had seen, but in that span of me adopting the children and moving, the doctor had now left. And I found out later that she had actually gotten married and had a baby, and decided that she wanted to be a full-time mom. And so I saw another doctor, and she suggested I had an ultrasound done. And so I had a couple, there's different kinds of ultrasounds done, and basically it showed that a lot of the fibroids had come back. At least there was at least 5 that was present on the ultrasound, and not only had it come back, but they had grown with like a vengeance. Like, it was unbelievable how much it was like every month it was grown exponentially. It was like crazy. And so at this time I was now 37, and I remember the doctor telling me, you know, you've dealt with this for a very long time. I don't know if you would consider maybe having a hysterectomy. And she said, you can have a myomectomy again, which is just them pulling out the fibroids but saving your uterus. Or she said, you know, maybe, I don't know if you'd want to think about that. And she said, I don't know if you're done with having children or if you even have children. And I told her that, yes, I had 2 children. And she said, but don't think that I'm pushing you to have a hysterectomy, because she said, actually, I've seen a lot of older women having children now. So don't think that you can't try. And I said, well, first of all, you know, I really want to have children in the context of marriage, children that I would be birthing. And also, you know, I think I've dealt with this a long time, that I think a hysterectomy is probably something I would really consider. So she said to me, well, let's just check your blood levels and just see where you're at, if, you know, it would be something that you can do. So I went and got blood work done. I came back very, very anemic, which I figured because I was bleeding really heavily. And so she suggested, you know, trying to do the iron infusions again to see if we can bring these levels up, because basically the thought was the higher your levels are, the more successful chance you would have at surgery, at not bleeding out or needing a blood transfusion or anything like that. So I agreed to that, and so of course I'm allergic to the iron, intravenous iron, so I had to get drug and go through the whole thing of trying to stop the reaction to it by doing the drugs and all of that. So I went through all of that. I went through a month of that. Came back, had blood work done. Nothing had changed. Absolutely nothing. So I went through a whole other round of iron infusions. Came back and had only crept up like a little bit. And so she said, you know what, we have another medication that you can try, and this will stop your period. It's not something that's good to take long term, but it's something that, you know what, it can just stop your cycle to just allow your body to try to keep in the, to allow your levels to go up. And so I did that, and I was taking it, and I went and had lab work done again, and literally there was like no improvement. And so I was like, okay. And so I said to her, I am not sure what I should do at this point. And she basically told me to just continue the medication, and then we will check it again. So one of my cousins works at the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, and she said to me, you know, maybe you should see my doctor. I know that they're really good, not to say that Leahy isn't, and they can find a way to do this surgery even though your levels are low. So I left Leahy, and I made an appointment with the gynecologist at Brigham and Women's. I went, and I sat down with the doctor. She reviewed my whole history, my medical record, everything. And she says to me, you know, I can do the hysterectomy. And I'm going to tell you this. The procedure I was going to do was not going to be where I would be cut open, like the myomectomy where I was cut. It was going to be done laparoscopically, and the procedure that they use is a morcellator technique. So they basically, and I might not have it all like perfect, but they basically chop everything up and kind of put it in a bag and pull it out. And so very it's less invasive than having, you know, being cut open and taking out the whole thing and all of that, and a very long recovery. So the recovery period for the laparoscopic surgery was 4 weeks versus 8 weeks having the more invasive surgery. So that's why I was leaning towards, that's why I wanted to have the laparoscopic surgery. And so when I went to Brigham's and she reviewed my history, and she said, you know, you've already had surgery once, you've had just a history of all these issues, a lot of allergies to all kinds of different medications. So besides the iron, I was allergic to all kinds of pain meds. And she said, I don't feel comfortable doing the surgery because I'm not sure what kind of complications you might have. I'm going to refer you to a specialist at Brigham and Women's who specialize in these kinds of laparoscopic surgeries. And I said, okay. So I made an appointment to now see the third doctor. And during that time, COVID hits. And so I was not able to go into the office to see the doctor. I had to do the doctor's appointment via Zoom. How do you do a gynecological appointment via Zoom? And so basically it was just the surgeon asking me a bunch of questions and going over my history, and they were very thorough, and reviewing the ultrasounds, everything like that. And so the surgeon said, we can do the surgery. We'll do the same laparoscopic surgery, less invasive, recovery time is shortened. The only problem is elective surgery is not happening right now because of the pandemic. And I was like, listen, this is not elective surgery. I cannot function. I am bleeding so heavily. I can't even get out of bed. Like the first 2 days of my cycle, the intense pain that I'm in with the cramps is unreal. I could barely leave the house because at times it was like I was like hemorrhaging. It would just flow down, you know, without getting too graphic. And so he said to me, "You and 100 other women." And I was like, that's crazy right now. And so the sympathy was really there. And so I felt so disappointed. I mean, and at this time, this was April 2020. And I believe that elective surgeries opened up again maybe sometime in July or August of 2020. I can't really recall. And they said, well, we will put you on our list. And as we go back in our log of all the people that need to be booked for surgery, we will call you. They never called me. And I just couldn't even take the pain any longer. And so I decided to forget Brigham and Women's and go back to Leahy. So I went back to Leahy, to the same doctor that originally was going to do the laparoscopic surgery that we were waiting for the levels to go back up, that wasn't going back up. She said, "Oh, Kizzy, I remember you." I told her, "You have got to do the surgery. I don't know what you need to do, but nothing I'm doing is helping. You need to do the surgery." And so she agreed, and I had a date set for the surgery. But here's the problem. The very first time I sat down with her and we discussed having the hysterectomy, I had this feeling that I don't know how to explain it, that I shouldn't do it. And I remember thinking at the time, why do I feel like I shouldn't do this? And I kind of was like, I don't know, you know, it's kind of crazy. I am in pain. Why would I not resolve this pain? But it's funny because when I went to the second doctor at Brigham and Women's now, and I was talking to her and we were going through my chart, my medical record, and we were talking about having the surgery, I felt that again, like that, like, I can only describe it as like the small voice that I shouldn't do this. And I was like, why am I getting like I shouldn't do this? And then I had it again when I spoke with the specialist now at Brigham and Women that put me on the wait list that never called back. I remember talking to him and I had that sense again, like I shouldn't do it. And so talking now to the doctor at Leahy again, I had the sense that I shouldn't do it, and it was stronger. And I just remember praying about it, and I was like, God, I feel like I shouldn't do this, but what is the alternative? Like, what is the solution? Why wouldn't you want me to have surgery? What other way is it? What should I do? And I just couldn't shake this sense that I shouldn't do this. And so, but, you know, I couldn't see any other way. And so I set a surgery date, and I did all the blood work, all the testing, gave them all my insurance information, and because I couldn't shake this feeling, it was like something in me knew something was off, and I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. So I said, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to make it through the surgery. And maybe that's what God's trying to tell me. I don't know. And so I started trying to get my life in order. I got a will in place to figure out, you know, if something happened to me, what would happen to my children, getting all my accounts in order, getting my burial situation in order. I just couldn't shake that something is not right. And closer to the surgery, like a couple days before the surgery, I get a phone call that there's some issue with my insurance. And at the time, I wasn't working. I wasn't even able to work in the condition that I was in. And I had the state's insurance. And so I'm like, what could possibly be wrong? You know, and it went into this whole thing that I was having the surgery at Leahy, and they were like, well, they don't take this, they don't take that. And I was like, what? You have to switch to this insurance. So I did the insurance switch, and they were like, no, it's wrong. You have to go see a primary care doctor. So I went and I saw a primary care doctor, and it was still like, nothing I can do can resolve the insurance issue. And so it was the day before I was set to go in for the surgery. I could not get this insurance issue resolved. And I was on the phone for hours talking to the insurance company, talking to Leahy, talking to the insurance company, talking to the billing department. And nothing I was doing was resolving this issue. And I called the doctor's office and I told them, and they tried, they're calling the insurance, we're going back and forth. And finally somebody at the insurance company said to me, well, this shouldn't stop you from having surgery. We can resolve all of this later. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. And so I go on making my plans for the day. You know, I have to go in the morning to get prepped to go into the surgery. And towards the afternoon, I get a phone call, and it's from the doctor, and she said, Kizzy, we have to cancel the surgery. I know it's the last second, but your insurance is not going to pay for it. And I was like, now that's just crazy. And she said, I personally have tried everything to get the insurance pushed through for you so you can have surgery in the morning, and there's nothing more we can do. You cannot have surgery. So we cancel the surgery already, and when you get your insurance issue resolved, you can come back and make an appointment.